Good evening, everybody. Going to work today on adding a fraction with a denominator of 10 to a fraction with a denominator of 100. So please find your next free page in your math notebook. Give it this title, and when you have done that, unpause, close your notebook, and just think with me until we get to the we do. So a lot of reminders from past stuff here. First thing, yesterday, we worked on taking a fraction with a denominator of 10 and changing it into an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100. And the way we did that is, like if I was going to do 9/10, I shaded in 9/10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9/10. Looks like that. And then I partitioned it the other way to make an equivalent fraction. So we took this one, 9/10, and I partitioned it into 10 parts this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now I still have 9/10. I can still look at that and see the 9/10 I started with, but I can also see that out of the 100 smaller squares I've made, 90 of them are filled in. So an equivalent fraction is 90 out of 100. So that's what we did yesterday. And then we're also going to deal with adding fractions today. So just a quick reminder on how that works. We've added fractions with denominators of 10 before, like 2/10 plus 9/10 is 11/10, and we learned a lot of strategies for that. And or we could do 100ths the same way. I don't think we ever did fractions with a denominator of 100. We might have. But you treat them the same way. I would just say, well, I know that when I add hundredths and hundredths, I'm going to get hundredths. And so I just need to add 31 and 25. So that's 56 hundredths. What we have not ever done is try to add a fraction with a 10 denominator to a fraction with a different denominator. Would my denominator here be 10? Or would it be 100? I don't know. We've always kept the same denominator so far. So that's what we're going to deal with today. So let me walk you through a couple examples. So let's start with just some numbers. I'm going to add 2 and 3/10 to 5 and 61 100ths. So as I just said, we have added tenths with tenths, or we have added hundredths with hundredths. We have never added tenths plus hundredths. We've never done that before. So we've got to come up with a way to do that today. I want to do that. And so let me talk you through what we're going to do. So what I'm going to do, the reason I taught you yesterday how to change tenths into hundredths is that that's what I'm going to do. I can't add tenths to hundredths. I can only add tenths to tenths, or I can add hundredths to hundredths, but I can't add one to the other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that to 2 and something 100ths using my strategy from yesterday. So let me pause real quick and get my tenths chart up. And ta-da, there is 3/10. 3/10 from the question here. So I'm going to change that into hundredths. I'm going to just use my same strategy as yesterday. I'm going to partition this, half, and then 5 above. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I can look at that and see that that is 30 100ths. So now, if I change 2 and 3/10 into 2 and 30 100ths, then those I feel like I can add together. Because now they both have a denominator of 100, and those aren't too bad to add together. So I can say that 2 and 5 is going to be 7, and 30 100ths plus 61 100ths is going to be 91 100ths. So I'm just going to change the tenths into hundredths, and that lets me add them up. So 2 and 3/10 plus 5 and 61 100ths is 7 and 91 100ths. Another way I like to keep bringing up the money, because pennies and dimes are really a good way to think about this, right? It says Anna has 5 dimes and 19 pennies. Use fractions to calculate what fraction of a dollar she has, like how much of a dollar. I didn't ask for how many cents, notice. I asked fraction of a dollar. So, 5 dimes, where we said dimes are 1/10 of a dollar yesterday. Because 10 make a... So the 5 dimes are 5/10 of a dollar. And the 19 pennies are 1/100th of a dollar. So I can add... So I'm really asking that same kind of question as I asked over here. Add tenths and hundredths. So I'm asking to add 5/10 of a dollar to 19 100ths of a dollar to figure it out. So other than this partition strategy, I can think about money as well. So I still can't add dimes to pennies. I can add tenths to tenths or hundredths to hundredths. So I can think about, each of these being 10 pennies. And then, so instead of thinking of that as 5 dimes, 5/10 of a dollar, I'm thinking of it as 50 100ths of a dollar, 50 pennies. And I can add 50 pennies to 19 pennies. And she has 69 100ths of a dollar. 69 100ths of a dollar. All right, I know you could probably in your head have already done how many cents did she have. When we talk fractions, it's a good example problem. 5/10 plus 19/100ths is the same as 50/100ths plus 19/100ths. All right, let's do one together. Open up your math notebook, and we'll do one of each of those 2 types of problems together. So we're going to add on here 4 4/10 plus 6 28/100. Make sure you make yourself a little note. Can't add tenths to hundredths. You can't do it. You can only add fractions when their denominators are the same. So what I'm going to have to try to do is, since I can't add 4/10 and 28/100, is I'm going to change this into an equivalent fraction that is 4 and something hundredths. I have to make the change. So I will bring in a hundredths chart here. Here's my tenths. And I'm using 4/10. 1, 2, 3, 4. And do my partitions real quick here. 1 middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I've got hundredths, and I can count that up. And 4 4/10 is the same as 4 40 100. Same fraction, but equivalent. Or I guess it's a different equivalent fraction. Looks different, but same value. And that is easy enough to add to 6 28/100. We'll get 10 and 68 100ths. So I can add tenths to hundredths as long as I change them both to having a denominator of 100. All right. And let's do one with money, because money is a great strategy for doing these kind of problems too. I think it makes it kind of a clear way to think about it. So Anaya has 6 dimes and 21 pennies. Use fractions to represent what fraction of a dollar she has. So the dimes, remember each dime is 1/10 of a dollar, because 10 dimes make a dollar. So that is 6/10 dollars. And then the 21 pennies are a 100th of a dollar. And so what I have to do in order to do this is change the dimes into pennies, tenths into hundredths. So if these are going to be pennies, I can go back up and think about each of these dimes instead of being dimes as being 10 pennies. 10 pennies here, 10 pennies here, 10, 10, 10, 10. And if I want to think about pennies instead of dimes, I have 60 pennies. I can add 60 pennies now to my original 21 pennies, no problem. And get 81 1/100ths. So that's two strategies for adding tenths to hundredths. Either way, you have to make the change to turn the tenths into hundredths. That's the way you've got to do it to add them together. Hope this makes sense to you. We'll do some practice tomorrow when you get to class on the UDOs. If you need to go back and watch either of these examples again to make more sense out of this, please do. And I'll see you tomorrow.